I fucked around and now found out in dating, and I regret it. My best years of dating was my 30s. This one year, I was dating 3 women at a time for about a year, and I both had sex sessions with all of them. They were clean, and I was clean. They never suspected each other. One was an avid pot smoker. I never smoked, but sex while she was high, she said, was the best feeling ever. The other one was a good girl. She was so innocent and nerdy, it was so cute. Sex with her was so satisfying because she was a freak in bed. The other was a single mom with 2 kids she was raising on her own. Dad was out of the picture entirely. Sex with her was just so sensual and pure. I even hooked up with a married woman just once, but I knew I was gambling with her situation, so it was a one-time encounter. I had to leave the state because of work, but kept up with all of them secretly. All of them wanted me badly, but I was a wild child. Went to another state and pretty much did the same thing. This time with 2. One was a single Hispanic mom with 2 kids, easily an 8 out of 10. Dad was somewhat in the picture. She was such a baddie in bed. She really knew how to please a man. The other was a recovering alcoholic who wanted to get her life together. We met once and hooked up, lost touch, but reconnected months after. After hooking up with her again, she told me she was dating another guy and pretty much neglected her sexually and got her rocks off by hooking up with me. She would pretty much let me do anything to her with the exception of bondage, humiliation, and a couple of other kinks I don't remember. I was searching for love, and it just ended up turning into just hookup after hookup. I'm fast approaching 40, and I got a good job making good money. I relocated to another state because of a good job offer. Now I want to settle down, have kids, have a family. I got it out of my system. I can't find any quality women around where I live, and I yearn for some of the women I took for granted. They've all moved on, and I'm stuck here just losing my goddamn mind, AMD wondering what could have been. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my GF for not ironing my shirt? Okay, first off, I know this is in the 1950s. And technically, she's not my GF. You'll see why this is important as you keep reading. Here's the full story. The build-up and the breaking point. I've been seeing this woman for a few months, and the chemistry and good times have been amazing. I'm very attracted to her mind, body, and spirit. We've had a great summer together, basically a summer of love. I haven't had good times like that in a while. Everything had been smooth sailing until recently. A couple weeks back, she needed help moving. Not a big deal, I'm a man, I can move some shit. Until I get there, and she literally had only half of her entire house packed. She told me she was going to have some other friends help, and only one person showed, and they left after a couple hours. I showed up at 11 a.m., and we didn't get done until 10 p.m. I had to help this woman organize and pack her stuff on her last day of the lease. Very irresponsible and selfish by her. She had known she needed to be out of the place for weeks and weeks and kept putting it off. If I had not been there to help, it would have took probably 2 days. Even if I was doing it by myself, it would have taken that long. She had a lot of stuff, LOL. It was comical to say the least. I literally saved this woman from a disaster. I told her during the move how I felt about the situation, but still kept it respectful and brief. No point in kicking her while she's down. Can't change anything, so might as well attack the issue and get it done. She promised to take me out for a nice dinner, never ended up happening, and we worked our asses off the entire day and got it done. The next morning, she bought me breakfast, and all was well. Fast forward to a couple days ago. I was staying over at her place after a night out. I had actually taken her out to dinner that night. Not a big deal, because I have love for her, and I feel like a man should take the woman he's dating to dinner once in a while. Even though she promised me, it's not something that I was going to hold against her. We had an amazing time, went back to her place, and had a great night. Woke up the next morning, and things went south. We were messing around a little bit. I had to cut it short because I had to get ready for work. Time goes by quick when you're having fun, and I was running late, LOL. So I took out my clothes and noticed my shirt was wrinkly. I asked her if she could iron my shirt for me. We both knew I was running behind and needed to move quickly. She then responds by saying, "Why do you want me to iron your shirt? That's girlfriend responsibilities." I can't even begin to tell you how pissed off that made me, LOL. She had been wanting me to make our thing official, but I like to take things slow. As in date for a good 6 to 8 months before actually making someone my girlfriend. So, I get where she's coming from. But she wasn't worried about giving me boyfriend responsibilities when I helped her pack and move her entire house. After she said that, I just laughed it off in my head and went and grabbed the iron and did it myself. It took 3 minutes. Didn't need to be perfect, just needed to look a little nicer. Things were kind of awkward, and we didn't say much. But I didn't act upset, I just played it off. I'm a very understanding person, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I'm a big believer in the small details of life. I helped this woman in such a huge way and didn't even hold it against her for still not taking me out to dinner. And even taking her out to dinner. But here she was, not even willing to iron my shirt a little for me because I was running late. It really bothered me because this woman has been going through a lot the past couple months, and I've been there for her every step of the way. I comforted her through many very tough days and nights and held her many times as she cried. I've been her rock and the only solid person in her life for the last few months. And despite all of that, that was her response in a time when I just needed a tiny bit of help. I'm not going to lie, behind my anger I was hurt. I needed a couple nights to sleep on it and felt the same way. So I decided to break things off with her. I just basically sent her a long text explaining how I felt and what had transpired over the last few weeks. Basically a rundown of everything I said her. She said thanks for letting her know and tried to give her side and said she had wished I had done it in person so she can better explain the desire of what being a girlfriend means to her. To me, labels do not matter. I've helped her like I've been her boyfriend this entire time. I felt like what she did was incredibly selfish because I never ask her for anything. And the one time I do, she let me down. I miss her, and I know she misses me. But I'm willing to stand firm on my decision unless she makes this up to me big time. But I'm not expecting it. I'm just going about my life. Whatever happens, happens. AITAH?
Am I the asshole for telling my mom I won't tell her if anything happens to me? 34F. Parents tend to be annoyingly persistent when they think they know what's best for me. I know it comes from a good place, but it's difficult to have conversations with them because if I express a desire to buy/do anything, they don't simply listen or give an opinion. They actively push what they want onto me. For example, I tell Dad I'm looking into getting a new car and considered car A. He'll ask why don't I look into car B. I explicitly tell him why, e.g. expensive and doesn't suit my lifestyle. But for the next few months he'll ask at least once a week if I've decided on a new car and to look into B again. My mom, who I know isn't into cars, will randomly ask me to look into B. Suddenly, my mom's friend from her karaoke group whom I've never met is suggesting I look into B, etc. Last year I hit a breaking point. I was going on a trip and my parents asked if I wanted a new travel bag. I said my current one's fine. They got a new bag anyways and kept asking me if I wanted a new bag. Apparently, this new bag will be much better, even though they've seen my old bag maybe once. After the 4th or 5th time I told them on WhatsApp to stop asking me if I need a new bag. I've repeatedly said I had a perfectly good bag that's less than a year old. It's only been used a few times. And if I don't think I need a new bag, I don't like being asked about it repeatedly. The night before the trip they asked again. I looked at it and it was smaller than my current bag, so I can't even fit everything I want in it. I went on a long rant about how I dislike how much they try to push what they want onto me. That sometimes what they think is right for me isn't what I think is right for myself. When I tell them explicitly why I pick car A over car B and they continue to push B, it feels like they aren't listening to me or respecting my decisions. When they tell me that the bag they got will be better than my current bag that they've barely seen, it's like they think I don't know how to buy things for myself. They acknowledged this and then said they would try to do better. Flash forward to a couple days ago. I told the family chat that I found a huge spider in my car that disappeared when I tried to get rid of it so it might still be in the car. It was meant to be a funny story. My mom sends an article on all-natural spider repellents and asked if I wanted her to make one. I said no. The next day I stopped by my parents' house and before I left my mom insisted I hang this bag of herbs in my car to repel spiders. I told her I didn't want it. After she asked 3 more times, I took it and said something like, "Next time something happens, I'm just not going to tell you," in Chinese. She said fine and took the bag back and was visibly annoyed. Was this a harsh reaction? My partner said NTA, but my sister said it might have been a bit of an extreme response. Am I the asshole for asking my friend not to whip his dick out in public? Context me, 30F, my boyfriend, 30M, and 2 of our friends Jake, 30M, and Crystal, 30F. All went to the beach together last weekend. The conversation started at my place as we were all packing for the beach. Jake said that he was just going to change into his swimsuit after we got to the beach and people would get a free show. I casually mentioned that he could just use a towel to cover up if he needed to change, as the beach was busy, not clothing optional, and there would be kids there. Aside from all this, my boyfriend and I didn't really want to see him expose himself either and made that known. He said that sounded dumb and that he could just quickly change and people could look away if they didn't want to see. When we got to the beach, he was about to drop his shorts, and I asked if he minded just using a towel. First, he just asked me to hold it up for him, which I didn't want to do because I didn't want to see anything and it also would do nothing to cover, as there were other people sitting behind us and next to us. Aside from that, both myself and my boyfriend would not have been okay with me holding a towel for another man to change. It almost seemed like he was actively trying to make us feel uncomfortable to prove a point. I then showed him how to tie the towel around his waist as a way to change while still being covered. Growing up near a beach, that's how we always changed, and I thought that was just a normal thing to do. He got visibly annoyed by this and said it made changing too hard and took too long. Our other friend Crystal sided with him and said that it's not a big deal to change at the beach, and if people didn't want to look, then they could turn away. It had me second-guessing if I was being the unreasonable one by asking him to cover up. After our swim, when he wanted to switch back to regular shorts, he just did it out in the open and we looked away. I didn't say anything at that point because I didn't want it to be a fight, but the whole thing made me and my boyfriend feel uncomfortable, and I didn't understand his pushback on wanting to just change out in the open. So, AITAH for asking him to cover up while changing at the beach? I've been lying to my parents about my friends, and as much as I regret it, I cannot tell them the truth. I have no friends. None. I have one school friend who has been with me since 6th grade, but now that I am in uni, I have no one in the uni I study. I've been lying to my parents and been telling them that I do have friends when in reality I have none. And you ask me why? That's because they're constantly worried about me. They're worried that I won't be able to survive without them. Which in a way is true. I do rely on them a lot. But I find it easier to lie to them and tell them that I have a friend group instead of telling them the truth and worrying them even more. I find socializing extremely tough. Not to sound like that person, but especially in this generation, I find it even more tough. There are a lot of things that people my age group that don't necessarily align with me or my beliefs. And apart from that, as someone who was also bullied a lot in middle and high school, I'm over-aware of everyone I speak to. I have a constant fear that everyone hates me, which a lot of people do, and the people who actually do, like me, are just politely tolerating me. I don't want to be a burden, but I also have times when I feel so lonely and stuck. And that makes me feel so hopeless about life in general. I can't imagine having friends or someone else having romantic feelings towards me. I, for the life of me, can't sit my parents down and tell all of this. So instead, I find lying a better option. I lied to them about a lot of events getting cancelled at my uni just to save myself from the embarrassment of being lonely there too. I feel a lot of guilt, but this is better than them constantly worrying about me. And you might wonder why I'm saying all of this over here. Well, the only reason is that I was in a desperate need to rant to someone, and what better way to that other than being anonymous? Edit. To everyone who commented under this post, thank you, SM. All your kind words mean the world to me.